It was Des, and I'm back with another video. So yeah, man. Just recapping. I got a few topics to go over. Just recapping. Obviously, we had the Everton win, the Bournemouth win, completely different games, but just gonna recap some of these things just to see how they went. So yeah, for me, like obviously the Everton game that was revenge mode straight away. Uh, it was pretty much the complete opposite from the first game we had with them. Obviously, the first game we had with Everton was disaster. Obviously, that was the beginning of the whole run that we had. I'm sure that was beginning. Yeah, that was beginning of the whole run we had, where we lost to them and then we just started dropping points here and there to Brentford, City, and stuff like that. So, obviously, that was the beginning of that situation right there. But at the end of the day, coming into this game was for me. This was revenge. It was time for us to like flip back to where we were prior to losing to Everton, and it was a completely different game. If you look back to the game against Everton, the away game, the whole problem we had in that game was their midfield overlapping us constantly overlapping and getting into the final third. It was what's his name, Onana, constantly breaking lines of runs and getting onto the edge of the box and attacking our half and creating situations from there. And for me, I said in the preview to this game, I said that we needed to counteract that, and also at the same time, that's what we need to start doing because teams are going to start sitting deep against us. We need to start having more overlaps in the final third to ensure that we're actually creating or able to create situations. Because when you have these teams playing like this and sitting really deep, you're not going to have the space that you need to be able to create situations, and we need to be able to overlap to do this. And this game was completely different. But although it started a bit weird, like how it did in the first game we had. So obviously the way this game started, it was a bit slow. The first half, it wasn't like as fast as we wanted it to be. We weren't creating the situations that we wanted to create. But we saw what Zinchenko did in that game. The first thing he did straight away as soon as Zinchenko got in that game was you can see his position in there, deep, literally sat right next to was it Jorginho? Yeah, sat right next to Jorginho in this game because Partey was on the bench. Sat right next to Jorginho, and he basically we were playing in front of Everton, and they were doing the same thing they did in the first game, whereby they just sat really deep in their compact block, defensive block, and very difficult to disorganize their shape and their in shape. And the reason why we were able to break them was because we had the movement of Zinchenko from deep. Now, the difference between this game and the first game was in the first game, we didn't have that movement into the final third or anyone breaking lines from deep, getting into the final third and making him move around. But in this game, the difference we had was we had Trossard and we had Zinchenko making these kind of runs. For me, I said Saka and Martinelli, they scored the key goals, but the most influential players for this game was Trossard and Zinchenko. And first, I'll go over the Zinchenko part just to see how influential he was. He basically picked up the ball from D, and then there was a sequence of play where he was building up play in the first phase, second phase, carrying the ball into the final third, releasing it, getting the ball on the right hand side, coming back inside, and then finding Saka. The reason why he was able to do all of this was because once he moved from deep into the final third, he was dragging players out of position. Once he moved to the right hand side as well, you could see the Everton players were switching to the other side and shuffling to one side and then shuffling back to the other side. So once you get that, you get a team that is usually defending in these very organized blocks and not really moving because they already have players in zonal. Do you get they have so basically defending in like a zonal kind of defending where they have players based in each of these areas and they don't need to move to defend. But once you start getting players to swap positions and rotate and move around, that's when you start getting team. That's when you start creating these gaps, and these gaps start opening up because you're having players moving about. So obviously with Zinchenko going out wide, you're gonna have Saka coming inside, you get it? And then he created a gap in between, which is the gap that created that Saka was able to find in between the centre back and the full back. And then Zinchenko found him obviously with that great final ball. For me, that was very important, and it's something that needs to continue to keep on that we need to keep building up because once the more teams defend deep against you, you're not gonna be able to have a free roam just to break them lines. You're gonna have to move them about with movement, with ball carrying, and then once you do create the little gaps and the spaces, then you have to quickly find the space with good passing, and that's what Zinchenko was able to do in that game. The other player that I think was really key again in this game as well was Trossard. And for me, the reason why Trossard was so key in this game was because, as I've said already, the movement that he has, what he's doing, whereby drifting out wide and stuff like that and creating space for Martinelli. What he's basically done is we brought Trossard in to basically be someone who's going to compete with Martinelli. But what Trossard has basically done was he's given us someone who's actually allowed Martinelli more freedom. And now you can see that Martinelli is a lot more free in the final third. He's not stuck out wide. He's able to drift inside and become more narrow. And you look at the goal that he scored, that Martinelli scored. The reason he scored that goal was simply because he was in the central area, Trossard was out wide, and then he was able to do the things he does in the middle, which is his pressing ability. He's very direct. So when Martinelli is in the central areas, he's very direct, presses a lot, constant threatening behind and stuff like that. When he's out wide, he's kind of stuck in there having to deal with one-on-one situations. So he's not. So there's a lot of his game that's missing when he's in the wide areas compared to the central areas. And because he was central, he was able to press higher up, win the ball, attack the box, and then get his goal. So that was what was important in that Everton game. And I've said already that it's key that we've seen what Trossard and Zinchenko did in that game. Then obviously we won that game. Obviously we got the third and fourth goal after that. I'm trying to remember who got that. Trossard again with the assist for Odegaard. And then Trossard with the assist for Odegaard, and then again when he went down again, Martinelli was in the middle. So picture it like this again: Martinelli is in the middle, dragging players out of position. You got Trossard out wide, getting the ball, crossing back, and then Odegaard is able to score. Why? Simply because Martinelli is dragging players out of position because Trossard has given him the freedom to be central, whilst Trossard is out wide. And then you have the other goal where Zinchenko, great pass again from deep, split the team open, found Nketiah, who got the ball to Martinelli, who tapped it in. Again, Zinchenko's has been unbelievable in that build-up play, in that deep area where he's able to progress the ball into the final third with passing, with dribbling. We saw for the Saka goal, he did this all with dribbling, and then his passing, progressive passing. And then we saw for the goal against the goal that Martinelli scored, the last goal, was through his passing into the final third again. So it's just great to see Zinchenko in that area. I'm going to do another video again where I'm going to go over Zinchenko in that sort of area where him and Partey are really building our play from deep and literally controlling the first and the second phase. But we'll go over that later down the line anyways. But yeah, that was the Everton game. And then the Bournemouth game. Before I go into this Bournemouth game, first of all, it's crazy to me that we're in a title race and we keep on getting these 3 p.m. kickoff games. I feel like, obviously, a conspiracy, but I feel like when it gets to the more difficult stage of the season where we're playing where we're playing like City, Liverpool, Brighton, Chelsea, and all that, all back to back, and Newcastle, all back to back, I think those games are all going to be televised. And I feel like they're all going to be televised because they're probably thinking this is where we're going to bottle the title, this is where we're going to lose the title and stuff like that. Because how are we at the top of the league constantly competing for games and you have 3 p.m. kickoffs that aren't like significant or as significant compared to our game? Like the 3 p.m. game, obviously, we all know the way I missed the game, like, because you're having to flip and watch these games off these websites and these websites and stuff like that. And these are not consistent, and the streams or whatever are going to end up going off and stuff like that. So these aren't consistent ways to be able to watch a football game, and especially when you're chasing the title, this is not an ideal way to be watching. You know what I mean? Like to be watching the games, and I missed the Nelson goal, which is unfortunate, but obviously it's still a great moment. It's still a great moment. Looking at the celebration from even finding out later on, because I thought it was a draw. And then I went back on Twitter and then I saw that we won. I was already pissed off already, thinking like, shit, like the game is over. We lost, we dropped points again. Man City, are catching up with us and all that stuff. I was already thinking that it was done. Like I was already so annoyed in the toilet and everything. And then only to come back on Twitter and see that we flipping won the game. You know what I mean? And I was thinking like, but regardless of how we missed or how it happened, obviously it would have been great to see in the moment, but still, like, unbelievable moment. Like, you know what I mean? Like, for Nelson to score like that in the last second with the last, you know what I mean? And things like that, especially how the game started where they scored their 2 goals early. The Bournemouth game was a bit weird because I do think that we need to get back in the groove of things. And I feel like the reason being is because we need to be a bit more consistent in the final third. In terms of being more efficient and taking our chances and stuff like that, because that's the only thing that can cost us in this title race is us just being more efficient in the final third and taking our chances, because otherwise we're really good. We're really good as a team. We can come back. You can see we can score because we can. The reason why we can score is because we create so many situations. We create so many chances. So that it's just we just need to be a bit more efficient when we're in the final third with our decision making and some of the situations that we have. That's all it basically is. The Bournemouth game obviously is Reece Nelson. It's the Nelson show. Obviously got the assist for Ben White. Came on, changed the game completely. Got the assist for Ben White. Got the winning goal. Obviously Partey got the header as well, lead into the goal as well. So yeah, man, it was a great moment. Something that we're gonna look back on. If we win the title, this goal is gonna be remembered. You know what I mean? Like this goal will be remembered. Jorginho's goal will be remembered. You know, and even when I think about it, and it's something I'm going to talk about later on as well. Is you think about this game or this very difficult period that we've had recently, and you've had the likes of Jorginho make a key impact, scoring a late goal, Nelson scoring a late goal, Trossard coming in to help the team. You know, very influential so far, and helping Martinelli to improve again as well. Who was, you know what I mean, Smith Rowe coming on to get the header, which Partey scored for him to get the first goal. So it's like, you know what I mean? So it's like we're continuing to see more influence with the squad players. And it's something I'm going to go over again, because when you win a title, it's not just about the first team, it's also about the squad players as well. And we're starting to see the importance of the squad players.